When Women Speak.
And New Jersey Poetry Events presents
When People Speak.
Poetry and conversation with pop-up poetry guests. Your hosts will be Amira, Shabazz, Bilal.
And your co-host, James C. Ellerby.
Who's up next?
Oh man, this next poet, I have given her a nickname of the Octavia Butler of poetry. And I mean, the way she throws around words and takes you on journeys, I mean, is amazing. And I'm gonna bring her up at this time, the one and only Kali.
Oh, baby.
Hey, can y'all hear me okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Perfect.
Cool.
Welcome to When Women, I'm sorry, again, here I go. Welcome to When People, it's so many women here that keeps coming out. Welcome to When People Speak Women's History event. Thank you. I got it.
Definitely happy to be here. Dewana, wow. Crystal, wow. Like, it's definitely been a phenomenal show already. So I'm glad to be in the midst of everybody else.
So you know what? We're gonna let you have your day. James, are you gonna give her flowers now, later? What's happening?
I'll just say she's just a wordsmith. She's a griot. I mean, she's all of that. I can go into a bio. She's been here before. She's no stranger to this platform. So we're just going to, let her have the stage and let her show you exactly what I'm talking about. So go ahead and do your thing, sis.
We out.
Thank you. So the first poem that I'm going to perform is one about mental health. Like James said, I've been here before, and I usually talk about my work that I do, like my 9 to 5. I work in a prison. I work with females, and I work with females with substance use disorders, be it drugs or alcohol. And the recurrent theme, there's 2 recurrent themes in most women's story that are there. It's trauma and it's unresolved mental health. And I don't think that it's talked about enough. There are women who are suffering. One, because they grew up in an environment where they weren't comfortable enough to talk about the issues that they have. There's been stigma about it, and these are the things that affect us throughout our entire lives. So I wrote a poem about my journey through kind of healing myself. I'm still in a process, but this poem is called Jumbled, because that's how my thoughts are most of the time. So here we go. I'd like to believe that I love myself and that my intentions are good, but my best interests are no longer my primary priority. My psyche has become my antagonist, the anti-hero to my own healing, and anti-psychotic narcotics have been both the source of my struggle as well as my quick fix, though I can't recall how long I've been suffering this way anymore. Memory loss is an underlying consequence of selling the integrity of your conscience for the sake of your dissociated consciousness. In other words, it's difficult to be spiritual and sedated at the same time, but it's also impossible to be manic and mystical simultaneously. So lately, my fundamental concern is finding the most potent prescription to effectively snuff out the fire in my emotions until my heart is too detached to be broken. I just don't want to be hurt again, and I hope that God understands. I never intended to be a pharmaceutical grade junkie. I'm truly conflicted about being dependent on drug dealers with PhDs and the ability to condense my entire existence down to a disordered diagnosis. However, my feeling is it's so much safer to be numb than to be aware of my feelings. And ain't that the story of every addict? I think my therapist is afraid of my presence. Either that or he's drenched in pity. Either way, I don't like how softly he speaks to me. I smell the sour in his sympathy. He always hands me a box of tissues before he even says hello. He knows I'll probably start crying before I can reply. It's not grief that betrays my normally indifferent disposition. My tears are the remnants of exposed exhaustion from bearing a generational burden of psychosis and secrets. I wear my trauma like a scarlet letter, and in my own sadistic way, I've made a martyr of my misery because it's the only thing in my life no one's ever taken from me. These wounds are the only way I know who I am. I've never stepped foot on a battlefield, but somehow I still found myself at war. Who knew fighting off the tormented memories of your own family could conjure up the same PTSD as the soldiers dodging bombs and bullets overseas? I wonder if they felt as vile and violated as I did when the combat was over, or do they relive every vivid detail every single day because the combat is never really over? Did they internalize the blame and spend lifetimes searching for salvation at the bottom of empty liquor bottles and superficial promiscuity? Or do they pretend the honor of surviving is enough to neutralize the insanity? I wonder if they too have triggers they can't shake. Do they fantasize about pulling a trigger to ease the pain? I shake when I talk about myself because no matter what I say, it'll never be completely true. It's what happens when you inhabit an impulsive mind of polar extremes, when bi isn't a sexual orientation, but a label that defines your personality splitting at the seam. I'd really like to believe that I love myself, but affection is unfamiliar to me now. There's no space left inside these hollow bones for anything more than shallow desires and carnal exploits. My last ex called me a savage man eater. That's only because he didn't know about the women. I'm a marathon Jezebel, running from a tortured past on a rolling stone. So long as I keep them coming, they won't ask where I'm going until I'm gone. And I never have to reveal my regrets. Never have to admit things like this mouth learned what it means to please long before it learned how to speak the words, please help me. The irony of life is your best qualities are always paid for with the heaviest price. I'm sure I lost my soul somewhere between learning that Santa isn't real and Satan was God's first angel. So I can't trust halos, holidays, or good intentions. Therapy can't cure all this. So first thing in the morning, I'm calling the doctor and asking him to increase the milligrams in my medication. I'd still like to believe that I love myself though. Thank you. So that was the first one. Um, the next one that I want to read is something called Know Thyself. And I wrote this um, basically because I'm into psychology. So I recognize the psychology that is played out on people. And brief description of this one. There's a game being played, and this is what it is. The easiest way to get someone to lose themselves is to play on their vulnerabilities until they're so burned out they forget they can rise above them. So this know thyself is is outright specific. Learn to know yourself and learn to know how you're being played in this worldwide game right now. A person who searches for satisfaction outside of themselves is controlled by whoever holds the objects of their desire. There's a difference between free thought and simply thinking you're free. Following a Pied Piper camouflaged as independent perception. For instance, a man's seed is the very spark of life. So, is there any wonder why you are encouraged to waste it? You've been convinced that pleasure is your purpose and you're so preoccupied with your penis, you don't even realize you're only fucking to fill the void you've been feeling since the day that trauma kicked down your door and destroyed your dignity. Your dick can't heal that wound. On the contrary, every time you climax, it kills you a little. If your thoughts never rise above your pelvis, you remain a victim of your own desires, powerless to your addictions, and you can't be the God you claim if there's no power. Men, your biggest test in life is being stronger than your temptations because Big Brother always knows what trap to set in which cages. And women, love is the strongest drug, and this world is your pusher. It will taunt you with triggers meant to break your heart in the hopes that your ego and your expectations will keep you angry, cold, and unfulfilled. You gotta let it go. Because if you dig down deep enough, you'll admit that holding on is the very reason you can't grow. A woman who refuses to accept responsibility for her own mind means she doesn't know her own medicine. And her heart bleeds as heavy as her womb. She's like a concert piano, holding all the chords of creation, but she's been played too often to stay in tune. Her anger is her match. Her regrets are her fuel. Watch her burn her own stability to the ground and get lost searching for a savior in the chaos she forgot she created. Protect your mind. There's a world full of mental prisons outside. Your real enemy is aware that nothing in this world is worth more than the quality of your thoughts. Within your right hemisphere lies a thin line between universal creation or mental deterioration, so they spare no expense to keep you conditioned to self-destruct. Social experiments for 0.1 percenters who are already dead inside, and they lull you into losing yourself because they don't want you to rediscover your light. This matrix has determined that it can take your life before you die. That if they overstimulate your brain matter with constant pleasure and pain, you'll lose gray matter and become desensitized to the sensation of your pineal gland calcifying. It's akin to mental homicide, except there are no protests or marches for the walking dead because no one notices a dying mind. They think if they replace cold steel and full clips with chaotic emotions, you won't notice there's still a trigger being pulled. And maybe that's true. This whole engine system is running on remembering the pain and passing it on without questioning its source. But that's how programs work. The only thing robots can't do is become self-aware on their own. Bells ring, mouths drool. They're creating trigger activated androids for trigger happy antichrist on pale horses, just waiting for you to lose control. Please protect your mind. There's an anti-evolutionary war outside, and Pied Pipers prey on those that don't know themselves. So if I have just a little bit more time, it's Women's History Month. So I want to do one really quickly for women, an uplifting poem. And this one is called The Soul of a Sister. I keep changing the name because I don't know what I wanted the final name to be. But this is the name for it now. Has anyone ever told you just how much sun you have radiating underneath that skin? You sparkle like glitter, girl. God made you in the image of angels, so don't be afraid to spread your wings and water the heavens with the glow of your halo, because there are women waiting for you to light the way. Has anyone ever shown you how to shine? Supernatural and miraculous, melanin strong enough to shield you from the inferno of their hatred. No matter how much pressure is applied, a diamond doesn't diminish in value simply because some refuse to admit its worth. Be a wildfire. Set these fragmented fallacies of inferiority ablaze, wild woman. Illuminate this darkened road to revolution so no black woman has to trudge blindly towards the truth again. Be her reflection like ripples on moonlit water. She will see herself when you show her your soul. Sister's keeper, keep her in your memory when you make your moves. The hard works that you do are not in vain, though your significance is not always acknowledged. The world secretly waits for your dance because your rhythm makes the rains fall until the flowers bloom. You carry the sacred in your blossom. Sweet black woman, don't let anyone pull your petals. That ink in your pigment is the same substance that forms galaxies. You are far too universal to be ashamed of the ether in your complexion. Thick blackberry molasses, sweet remedy for a sour world. Stand tall in all that color in your skin tone. Coiled hair like cosmic electricity, sparking infinite creation with a solitary thought. All that exists first manifested in your mind. Gatekeeper of this earth, you are just as fertile because she is made of you. Colored like deep brown, like down south, deep soul, civil rights marches. Beautiful black girl, please love yourself whole, because society would have you hate yourself to pieces so they can sell your spirit in parts, like carbon copies. Every part of yourself that you are being taught how to hate is being laid out on display as free for the taking. Your beautiful black self, exploited and synthesized in attempts to diminish your authenticity. Never forget, every square inch of you is worth more than its weight in gold. You are worth your own healing. And I'm sorry if your mother and her mother and her mother couldn't mature enough to protect you and your power, couldn't keep you safe from the darkness that tried so hard to leave you dim. But this matriarchal magic is yours now. Master it so that your children and your sister and your sister's children can transmute their ancestors' agony into empires. Take your rightful place upon your throne. This world doesn't remember how much it misses you. They've been busy trying to tarnish your crown, but a queen isn't recognized by metal adorning her head when she is already made of titanium. Make your presence a force to be reckoned with. Be gale force winds that come in to wreck these unstable foundations. You are the force of a new nation, my sisters. You are not defined by the tribulations that trouble you. Don't forget, you were born to soar. Let your courage be your wind and your fly until we're all free again. Thank y'all.
Oh man.
Yeah, I was trying to be quiet in the background. I was screaming so much. I said to mute myself. Like there's nothing that anyone can say after Callie, the poet, does her thing. There are no words that can measure up to anything that we've just heard. Everybody on the line are like, clap, clap, fire, fire, yes, sis, ashe, be the wildfire, and they're just like repeating your words because they resonated so deeply within their souls. Everybody in the green room, the poets that are waiting to perform, we're all just like our mouths are open, our jaws are dropped. That was very, very amazing. Thank you all the time, though, Callie, all the time. Thank you for blessing our stage here at When People Speak, March Women's History Edition. Thank you.
Thank y'all so much.
You're welcome so much.
First off, I just want to. I know where the time is definitely moving, but I mean, you just firing these words like rapid fire. I mean, I smell the sour in his sympathy. Like, oh my god! And then she doesn't know her own medicine.
Mm.
There's a world of mental prisons outside. I mean, I can go on and on. You just keep them coming. The words just keep flowing. You're the type of poet, honestly, that bring 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 out the best in other poets.
Mhm.
You're the type of poet that make other poets go home and say, "I got to write something."
Consistently,
Wow.
consistently,
Like,
every time.
like I want to collab with you, and I will collab with you. But I'm gonna be honest with you,
I'm waiting on a day, man.
I'm kind of scared of you. You're gonna make a brother sweat for his words. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, you're just a super talented poet, and I just can't wait to work with you. Honestly, yeah.
Absolutely. That makes two of us. And we're always so happy when you come to When People Speak. It's just like an amazing experience consistently every single time. Thank you,
I'm so
Callie.
I'm so gracious. I take those words to heart. So I definitely am appreciative of everything.
And we appreciate you as well. So be a repeat offender. Come back.
I sure will. See y'all soon.
See you soon. Thank
All right.
Callie. James, wow. I don't know, like, whew,
Mm.
I need to like catch my breath after the performers that were on our stage for the first half of the show. This is an amazing lineup. This is when women's this is when people speak women's history, and these women are here and they are full of power and full of passion, and every single performer came up and they brought their A game, and I'm so appreciative of that.
And we still got more coming.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So, what's next on our agenda? Where do we head from here?
We got to pay some bills first.
Mm-hmm.
So you definitely want to pay the bills. Got to keep the lights on. Got to keep the heat on.
Well, let's do it then.
So this is how the bills get paid. Now businesses can support When People Speak and also promote their business live on When People Speak. 35-second video. They're run for 3 shows, and you can grow your business, support our platform. It's a low rate, and remember, your business matters. So, you can email us at whenpeoplespeak@gmail.
Gmail.com.
So support and get your business on our show.
See, the thing that people out there in social media land need to realize, and also our guests here, is that this platform shows actually in 3 spaces. We're here live. We have taped events, which we show on various groups. James is the maintainer of the New Jersey Poetry Calendar and Spaces, and that media, it gets pushed out to many other places and people. So if you advertise with us, you will be seen. You will definitely be seen. Once the show is done, we save the video and we slice it up and we put it out in segments. And we're also on YouTube. And those commercials that you purchase with us, your product, your business, trust me, you're going to be seen. This is network at the highest level. Yeah, very classy there, James. Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
We're
Okay, so what we gonna do? Come on, we need to move this show. We need to get somebody up here that's going to continue with this legacy that we got going on. Who's up next?
This next one is another wordsmith. I mean, she also just keeps the words flowing. I'm gonna bring up to the stage. She's been on here before, multiple times actually, and I'm just glad to bring her up for this edition of When People Speak. Help me bring to the stage the one, the only Mwikali Words, sister. Yeah, there you go.
Queen Mwikali
Hey,
Words. Welcome to
thank
the
you.
March edition of When People Speak. We gonna give her flowers, or we gonna just let her just bust the stage up like she normally does? What we
Look, she's
doing?
a repeat offender. I'ma just let her just do her thing and show the people what we already know.
Let's go. Let's go. Come on, Callie. Let's go.
So
Mwikali, let's go. Let's go.
you got it. You had it right. Mama Mira, how are you? Love you. James, love. Peace to all the poets. Everybody was phenomenal. I tell you, every time I come on here, it just feels like a good time in a cafe, and I appreciate that. So we're gonna get into a new piece. Yeah, a very, very new piece. A poet's musings on choking on stage during pandemic slash a true story, an extended metaphor. Let's sigh. I am imperfect. Like gasp, what a pain in the ask me why. Why I had no water near when 'twas time to spit. I choked rather than to let the moment torpedo me. 'Twas recorded for history. Gasp. Just like that, I let myself fall apart. I tell myself I failed because the many things that went right, besides those, my mind only shines light on the missteps. The neglect, the beeping had been coming from the closet for days. For days, she thought it could be coming from the closet, but never looked. She procrastinated like her mom. She waited for it to get to its worst, to be unbearable, to matter enough to pay attention to. It was in her DNA, perhaps. Or maybe, maybe she'd practiced being like that. She had wanted it to be everything. She thought of the people more maybe than the poems. She'd forgotten about the moment. Too much in the mind she'd meant to be perfect. The beeping, as it turned out, was from a rechargeable battery for the interwebs or some such. These were not things the lady paid attention to. She prayed the interwebs would not defeat her today, but they did, and the interwebs must have sent a memo to her mind to choke out her throat for just long enough to make her lungs trip over the next breath, or whatever happens when you choke. She Googles it. Dictionary.com, aka the homie, defines choking as to stop the breath of by squeezing or obstructing the windpipe. Strangle, stifle, to stop by or as if by strangling or stifling, as in the sudden wind choked his words, or grease choked the drain. And it is all, it is each. I stopped my own breath before it came, stopped my breath with my volume by habit. Had I checked in with my heart? Did I mean it? Or was I just hoping they'd hear and listen and repeat it, echo or call in response something meaningful? What about your heart? Do you remember how the thigh felt at that touch you tell in the stanza? Did you see the white snow on wet black branches out your window? Did you hear the sound of wet pavement when sudden tires make contact? Don't it sound like applause? Don't she want that applause? Those, those snaps. Emoji, she please. Say it's fire. Say it changed your life. Say she saw you with her stanzas. Demand her, call her back to the stage. Call her back. Remember her foreign and familiar names. She learns from the choke, the obstruction of opinion in her windpipe. The worrying while working wins her nothing. She thought 1 million thoughts, 1 million thoughts, and couldn't hear how it felt when her poem stopped. And there was no DJ transition or pause or conversing. This is why she must rehearse, rewind, reverse, rehearse, rehearse, reverse, rehearse. It is humble to catch wind with your voice box and hear nothing but the ringing in the right ear that she waits too long to see the doctor. She waits. She waits like her mother did. She waits for the emergency to remember to hydrate before you asphyxiate. She was elsewhere in that moment, watching herself strangle herself with thoughts of people, watching her strangle herself, scared to choke or sneeze or cough ever since the pandemic. She wanted to be perfect because then she'd be worthy. She forgot her healing sometimes. And today was a very vulnerable day. Today was a very vulnerable day. And so there she was, naked on the stage, mug of cold coffee in her left hand, eyes attempting to apologize and regain fire and connect and reconnect. But there was a beeping in her closet, a beeping. Can the uncharged battery kill the connection? Can the uncharged battery kill the connection? Maintenance had said, call Verizon. She waited so long to do something about the beeping. It seemed anyway. She waited like 14 years to live again inside her truth, outside the weight of feeling called to everything when she barely felt like she was enough as she was. She was trying to love herself today, and it was still fresh, still raw, still sushi. The recent sudden, sometimes morning makes you feel that way, like sudden sushi, unsure and choking through stanzas, trying not to lose a lung on the live sushi, very sushi, very sushi. She was grease choked the drain. There was still grease in the drain, grease, the consistency twin of the thoughts in her mind when she forgot to love herself and rest and give herself time and understand her process and forgive her imperfect. She always knew she wasn't perfect, but sometimes she tried anyway. She was learning not to swallow the sticky, self-stifling speech. She sometimes spoke to herself. She forgot to talk like she loved herself enough. Sometimes, sometimes she was a klutz, tripped her guts over overthinking. The smell of the strangling was rancid, made it hard to breathe a clean, clear breath. She was really, really nice, but not always to herself. She smiled through the slow circle of connectivity, stopping the scroll, slowing the words, brain making a slow circle, growing the words that clog the drain. Drain starts to feel like strain. She cracks her own back and it feels like betrayal. But her love says, breathe. Remember your heart. Breathe. Be kind to yourself. Breathe. She decides not to waste the night away eating 2 boxes of Domino's, 2 for $5 medium pizzas, or she decides she might order, but just eat one and not both, or maybe have whatever she wants within reason. She would commit no more treason against herself. She would breathe and decide to learn and grow. She decides she won't let the sudden wind, the wild wind with no eyes but big lungs, knock her off the next rung of her journey. She was learning, she would keep her own counsel, a fancy way to say, mind her business, or talk herself through this next stretch, this new and blessed step. Growing up, she had been a klutz by some magic of gravity. She would trip up the stairs, up the stairs. Back then, she would laugh at the absurdity or cry about the imperfection of her journey. But she was learning that the beauty of tripping up the stairs is that it means you ascended in the middle of a fall. And that's that piece. Um, yeah, I need a second. That's the first piece. I respect and have to give much honor to people who work in the field of mental wellness and who advocate for it because um, life is hard, but we are amazing And we are so much more capable, so much more capable, so much more magic than we let ourselves understand sometimes. So, like, I'm gonna challenge you real quick, and then I'm gonna end with something a little lighter. Um, but I want to challenge you to, like, the next time you want to say something that isn't nice to yourself, let yourself know Miss Word said that's not acceptable. Okay, love yourself. Tell yourself something beautiful of yourself. Okay, just let yourself know that. That's a favor. Okay, that's it. I'm done. All right, the second piece is shorter, much shorter. If I have time, I don't know what my time is looking like. Do I have time?
You're good, sis.
All right, it's short. Thank you, James. All right, so this piece, I love this piece. It's written in my notebook, so forgive me if I'm struggling a little bit to see some of the words. But I wrote this piece with my son. We did a writing prompt this weekend, and he wrote this really dope piece. I got to get him on here because he's kind of a beast himself. It blew me away. But he gave me some words, and I gave him some words, and we came up with a poem from the words. In this moment where there are words and jazz, everything grows. Trees, baptized lenses, the beauty of this bond between mother and son, writing poems with shared words. Everything grows. A moment becomes a memory, the love becomes laughter and pens posed in poet formation. We are about this creation. We hunger for the beauty we find in this treasured time we write. Grab words from the doodled clouds in 5-star notebooks we save Sunday for a special time to plot on dreams. We plan out our next magic. We are our next magic, my son. My art infused prince, my dearest love, you are my best magic. I summon my best spells in stanzas. I say you free. I speak you free. I sketch you free. I love you into space where everything grows. I love you, legend. I love you, Marvel. I love you, 3000. What kind of love be this? I love you, my poetic progeny. We create in harmony. We bring the beauty. We beat the beats. We call on foreign streets and gourmet feast. I wish you the fullness of your freedom. My sweet son, my dear heart, life ain't always easy, but if you water and shine light, my love, my son, my living legend, my best part, everything. Thank you all so much for having me. I hope that touched you. I hope that you felt love, and I dedicate this performance to my family. I love y'all, and everything goes. Peace.
Oh
I
wow.
keep trying to be quiet back here. Oh my God, Mwikali, you should have seen the post. I'm sorry, James. I'm always cutting you off too. You should have seen all of the remarks on the wall, and it's not anything that I myself was not saying about each and every word. I just want to tell you that that one piece where you talked about it was more or less a healing piece.
Yeah.
I kind of felt that that was everybody's story.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of felt that that piece was a self-healing piece, meaning if you ain't got nobody else to talk to, you got that poem right there to talk
Yes.
to be
Yes.
reminded that you is somebody, right?
Yes.
You get where I'm going with that. And it's like
Absolutely.
if you could remember and repeat those words and the value that you have within, you
Mm-hmm.
can begin to heal if there's no one else to help you through that
Absolutely.
space. You know, we've been in those low places. So that was what I wanted to say about that one piece. It was very emotional. But the
Yeah.
last piece that you just did,
Mm-hmm.
I just want to share this with you. We have connected before, meaning you have seen a piece of art and you of mine, and you have developed a poem from that piece.
Yeah.
And I want you to know that the piece that you just did, There was another art piece that I have, and you're aware of it, but you're really not aware of it. It was a moment in time that I snapped you and your son.
Yes, no, I'm very aware of it. I love that piece. I
And
love it.
I want you to know that if you publish that piece, you should take that art piece and put them together because
Yes,
they match.
yes. I
And
will
that's
do
what I
that.
wanted to say. I'm sorry, James. Go ahead. I'm not hosting. I'm not hosting, y'all. Y'all don't see me.
Hey, letting it fly. I'm
Please
just
don't
letting it fly.
stop.
But Kylie, you know how I feel about you.
Yes,
You're just, I don't know. There's something going on with your writing
yes,
nowadays. I notice, a difference. It's almost like um, this is your rebirth.
Hmm.
yeah, yeah. Listen, I'm wearing my stretch before you break into your newest moves hoodie because, like, for real, that's the space I'm in. Like, we gotta stretch, and sometimes that hurts to stretch, and I think that's what you're hearing is like the vulnerability of the stretch. Like, it aches sometimes to stretch, and so confronting things and working through your stuff is work, but it's worth it. It's worth it
Mm,
to be free. It's worth it. Yeah,
yeah, I
yeah,
definitely can relate. I definitely can relate.
yeah.
I don't share a lot about personally, but this year has, well, this past year and going into this year has been one of the most challenging that I've ever faced. And
Mhm.
it makes me realize the importance of getting back to the words and going into
Mhm.
that space and,
Right.
really just making yourself vulnerable. I
Mhm.
too am doing that as well, and stretching, as you
Yeah.
said.
Yeah.
So I thank you for that. Thank you for your
Thank you.
words.
Me as
Thank you
well.
for
It's
receiving
just
them.
like your last name.
That's
About the
me. That's
words, sis.
me. Thank you again.
We
Yeah.
appreciate
Thank you for completing helping to complete our program this month. A celebration of women, um, telling our truths, having a platform for people to listen, having a platform for other women out there to connect. This is the place to be this evening, and thank you. You've made this a success, or you've helped to make it a success. You, along with the other women. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Much blessings.
you. Peace.